This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video.
As everybody probably knows, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a clear vibe and poll shift towards the Democrat Party across the board. Whether it's Trump's approval going down, whether it's a generic ballot, statewide polling, it seems like for the last couple of weeks, Democrats have gained in virtually every single metric. Well, in the last couple of days, it really does seem like this trend that Democrats are gaining everywhere and that next year is going to be a blue wave. I'm not denying that, yeah, Democrats right now, they're still probably the favorites for next year. But it does seem like in the last couple of days, we are slowly but surely going back to some semblance of reality where, yeah, Democrats might be the favorites next year. No one should deny that. But at the same time, that does not mean that they're the clear, overwhelming 99.9% chance favorites next year. I still think Democrats are favored, but look at the generic ballot right now. Right now, it is D plus 3.5, which, yes, in that scenario, Democrats, they would retake the House. Obviously, in that scenario, they would take the House by not a big majority. They would get it, but by what? Like a 5 to 10 seat majority? You're talking about a 4 to 5 point shift from last year, which on paper seems like a huge deal, but we'll get to why in a second. Even a 4 to 5 point shift, that may not even be enough to get a sizable majority. But even then, look at the polls in the average, and it's clear most polls have it within 3 to 4 points. But there are some obvious outliers, like that Marist poll, D plus 14. RMG Research, they had an R plus 4. You take out the outliers both ways, it's closer to D plus 3. Well, compare that to a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, Democrats were up by 5.5 points. But ever since the start of December, and we see this even Trump's job approval, the same thing's happening. Ever since December 1st, there has been a slow but steady trendward up for the GOP. Went from -12, -13, down to single digits again. And that's with a horrendous AP Norc poll, by the way. This poll had a -25 for Trump's approval. But the point is, you take that poll out, it's clear. Trump's approval is going back up slowly. And even the generic ballot, which is still not good, same thing with Trump's approval, it's not good at all. But at the same time, Democrats went from being above Republicans by 5.5 points. Everyone was excited. Everyone in the Democrat Party thought it's all over for next year. Republicans are getting killed because we won New Jersey and Virginia in massive landslides, way bigger than expected. And look at the generic ballot. But now this lead is starting to go down. And we've been talking about this for a while. Even when Democrats have these big leads, you notice a consistent trend. It's not that Democrats are doing phenomenal and they're getting 55% of the vote. The reality is they haven't been able to crack 47%. They have a set ceiling at 47% of the vote. A couple months ago, they could barely crack 46. That's still what's happening. Even at their peak, they're stuck at 46% of the vote. Okay, that's it. That's not enough to win a historical landslide, obviously. But the reason they've had this huge lead in the generic ballot, look at the Republican vote share. It went down to as low as 41%. That's not Democrats surging. Democrats for the entire year, they've been consistently between 44 to 46%. Somewhere in that range, they've been hovering around that range, okay? Republicans, though, they've been dropping off considerably since earlier this year. Earlier this year, it was basically a 50-50 race for the generic ballot. In fact, before that, it was a Republican victory, but you could argue that was a fluke, and obviously it was. But Democrats, they've just been going down, have been saying the exact same. What has been happening is Republicans, same thing with President Trump, their numbers have been declining consistently. But in the last couple of weeks, the trend has been reversing slowly. And there's a bunch of reasons why. And this poll right here should both demonstrate why I think this is going on and why Democrats, even as of now, they should still be very worried. Because you would think with the state of the economy, with everything going on, Trump's approval being so bad, Democrats would be at 51% of the vote. At a bare minimum, they'd be cracking 49, 50% of the vote, or something in that range. But even right now, they've not been able to crack even 47%. And I think this poll from Reuters demonstrates why. And by the way, Reuters, they found the race is getting close. A couple weeks ago, they had a roughly, I think, D+3. Now they were D+1. But look at this. Which party has a better policy on these issues? And Democrats, of course, they leave on democratic values and healthcare, the usual things. But the reason that Trump's approval in the Republican Party, the reason they've been sinking so much is the economy. Let's cut the crap. It's the economy. Yes, there's other stuff like Republicans being out of touch, doing stupid stuff like in Indiana, but it's the economy. It's cost of living. That's the number one issue for most people. And that's why Trump's numbers, they've been sinking. But in the last couple of weeks, it really does seem like some kind of vibe shift occurred where, yeah, the economy is still bad, but people are starting to feel just a little bit better. Just look at this poll from Reuters. Even with the Republican Party being in control of Congress, this presidency, everything, and majority of Americans say this is Trump's economy, not Biden's, even with all of that in mind, Republicans are still winning the issue of the economy by 8. Cost of living, it's D+1. Yeah. At the lowest point for the GOP, and what should be the highest point for Democrats, they're up by 1. That's not even a real lead. D+1, that's statistical noise. That's nothing. So really, the only issues they win are healthcare and democratic values. No one except partisan Dems give a shit about that issue. You know what voters care about? Cost of living, the economy. And you average those two issues, Republicans are favored on both of them. And the average undecided voter, they're not worried about democracy. They're worried about the state of the economy. And that's why these numbers for Democrats, yes, it's good for them. They're up by 5 they were up by 5. They're up by roughly 3 points now. But the problem is a lot of these undecided voters, based on the polls we're seeing, they're not leaning to the left. Far from it, in fact. In fact, they're leaning to the right. Even as of now, they trust Republicans on the economy. They trust them. Cost of living's 50-50, which is actually a freaking miracle considering that Trump's been president for a year. And we're still not having a good economy. But despite all of that, Trump's numbers on the economy and cost of living, they've gotten better. And now it's showing in the generic ballot, in Trump's approval. We are seeing a reversal in some of these things because, yes, objectively speaking, we are seeing the economy and all that, and cost of living, they are getting better. Is it enough? Of course not. But just for the simple fact that things gotten slightly better, it's helped Republicans tremendously. And that's why Democrats, they should be worried about next year. Because after everything, even in their peak, they're still losing the issues people care about. These undecided voters, they're going to vote on the state of the economy. They're going to vote on who they trust more. Yet they are right now saying they trust Republicans. Even though the economy sucks, inflation's still a big issue, it has gotten better, but Republicans are still winning the issues of the economy and cost of living, or at least it's getting better for them. They're losing the cost of living issue by a point. That's it, which is nothing. They're still winning the other issues by 8. Immigration by 13. That's still a big issue. Crime by 18. Democrats are winning issues not a single real undecided voter gives a shit about. They don't care about democracy. Maybe healthcare a little bit. But do you think they care about democracy as an issue? No. The people that say that democracy is a big issue, they're already voting Democrat. They're not going to vote Republican no matter what. So yeah, we are seeing this vibe shift occur. And a big reason why I think we are is, yes, the economy has gotten slightly better in some fronts, But the messaging for the White House, it's still not perfect, but it's gotten better. That they have done a good job fixing some of the issues with the messaging. The messaging's been pretty bad in the economy. You still got Trump saying some dumb stuff about how everything's perfect and there's no issues, but they've gotten better as they've been focusing on stuff that's objectively better that everyone could see, like gas prices. Gas prices, no matter who you talk to, it's gotten significantly better. In some areas, it's below like $2. It's crashing across the board. And when people see that, they're going to say, yeah, cost of living on this front, it's gotten better. It's going to trickle down to other parts of the economy later on. But the point is that the White House, they have been more focused on better messaging. And that's part of the reason why we are seeing Republicans slowly but surely regain some ground. Despite their own incompetence, they're still in a good position to win. So it's just crazy to say that, I know, but the polling right now is not showing a D+20 electorate. There's one poll that has more than D+5 in the average, and it's from Marist. Take it out, we're talking with D+3. And these undecided voters, they're leaning to the right. These are voters that are saying they don't like Republicans, but they trust them far more on the issues they care about. Democrats, they're just stuck. They're stuck at 45%, 46%, 47%. That's it. It's just only Republicans, they got to get their voters out to vote. If they do that, they probably win next year. And even with all the redistricting stuff going on, I do want to talk about this, Republicans are still in a good position in the House. I know that sounds crazy. Like people would say, well, it's over for redistricting. We lost Indiana. We're probably going to lose Virginia, Illinois. That's true to a lesser extent for some areas, but look at the actual map. This is the objective state of the map right now. There are roughly 10 House seats that are to be determined. Utah, we don't know. There's a lot of lawsuits being filed. The state legislators fighting that one. Kansas are still fighting there, trying to redraw the map. Illinois, we don't know. Florida more than likely redraws. South Carolina, same thing. Virginia, it's a guarantee they redraw. But it's a question as to how many seats they really go for. But when you factor in all of this, there are 10 seats we really don't know about. But even with that, right, even with those 2 seats in Virginia automatically flipping, Republicans are still winning the redistricting fight with Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, Ohio. Yeah, even Ohio, which we call a disappointment, it was, you still get a flippin' captor seat, and the one in Cincinnati is now a more Trump seat. And Florida, they're going to redraw. South Carolina, to be determined. And there's a bunch of southern seats as well that we are waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And if that gets gutted, say goodbye to a lot of seats in the South. But ignoring all of that, Republicans are still in a decent situation. Despite everything, they currently have 6 flips for redistricting. Democrats have 5 if you account for Virginia. And you factor in other seats, Republicans start basically at 203. Democrats start at 190. There's, of course, other seats that are going to go Democrat or Republican. We get that. But the point is, even with everyone dooming, with a generic ballot, still leaning to the left, with Trump's approval being below water by a decent margin, and even if nothing improves, which things are slightly getting better, the map is still objectively just not good for Dems. It's just not. They need still a lot of things to go their way, and they can't have any more surprise retirements. Like, they forced out Jared Golden in Maine, which was stupid. The one Democrat that could win that seat, and you force him out because he doesn't vote in line with you 100% of the time, even though he does 90% of the time? Really? That's the issue. And yes, even if the VRA is not gutted or whatever, and they still win these seats in the South, they're still right now down by like 6 seats when you account for redistricting, which is still, Virginia, people are just assuming that's going to go through no matter what, which it probably does, but there's still a process they have to go through. There's big questions. Can they reach it before 2026? Will it legally go through? Who knows? And there's plenty of these seats that voted for President Trump just last year. So a lot of stuff can happen in the next couple of months. This idea Democrats are the guaranteed favorites to win. They might be favored, sure, but they're far from this guaranteed 100% chance of winning and gaining 100 seats in the House. Could they gain 20 or 30? Sure, that's entirely possible. We are talking about the Republican Party. Nobody likes them. But even with their incompetence, there still is a good chance for Republicans next year after everything. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.